Yeah, welcome back. We are gonna get right into it. I'm gonna play this video, and I'm just gonna wait for your face to change when you listen to it. That
Knew that I had this feeling inside of me, but I didn't know how to express it. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to say anything that would get me canceled or get me having people being mad at me, or because I kind of know that like hatred for anybody is not good for your soul. So I always tried to cover it up and call it other things or like excusing and stuff like that. But baby, I ain't doing that no more. When I meet a guy, I tell him straight up from the jump, I do not like guys. But more specifically, I hate guys. I am a misandrist, and I stand 10 toes down on it, and I say it with my chest now. Like I said, I didn't always say it with my chest because I was a little bit too scared. But it then got to the point where it's just like, no, I'm not scared of anything. I'm not scared of being canceled. I'm not scared of people being mad at me. I'm not scared of the men being in my comments. I don't care. But I do want to get one thing straight. My hatred for men is not the same type of hatred that like races have. Like the way that a white person would feel about a black person. Like if you just see a black person out just in public minding their own business and you just see a black person and you're like, ugh, like your face is turning red and your face is scrunching up because you just hate those black people, you know. I don't feel that way. I don't see a man like out in the wild and be like, oh, fucking, he's a man. You know, I don't feel like that. I do feel like that when a man tries to insert himself in my life or in my space in any type of way. That's when I get that, nigga, you know, that's when I get that rage feeling. But no, I don't just like see men out in the wild, be like, oh my God, I hate y'all so much. You know what I mean? My brain don't operate like that. But let you try to talk to me, let you try to, you know, whether it's online, in person, or whatever. If you try to talk to me, then that's when my anger fuels, you know. But outside of that, yeah, like I said, I used to be so scared to just talk about it or whatever, but I'm not no more, baby. It's like we need to keep it real. And I think if all people just said, stood 10 toes down on whatever it is, whatever they are, whether you racist, misogynist, misandrist, uh, homophobic, whatever you are, I think we need to start saying straight up what we are and the things that we don't like to give people the opportunity. Like I'm telling you, like, sir, I don't like men. I'm a misandrist. You might want to get away from me. If I was somebody told me, if somebody was like, look, I don't like big girls. Get away from me. I can't stand you fat fuckers. I'd be like, oh, well, I'll stay away from you. You know, or if a racist person was like, yeah, I don't like you N-words. Get away from here. I'll be like, thank you for letting me know. And I just feel like if everybody just said it with their chest and stop being so damn scary, then we could get further. We could get further if we stop being afraid to say what we really are. And it's just like, yeah.
what you
Man,
think of that?
first and foremost, just a whole lot of babble. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like you said, everybody, the children and the adults at the table all have access to phones. There's no, but her message is just, it's very nasty. It's very disrespectful. The way in which she's just saying it, it's nothing like intelligent about it. She's making no logic. It's just a lot of babble and a lot of fluff, emptiness, and just a lot of hate too.
She was honest.
Yeah,
She was very intentional.
something that she did. Like, I guess the bright side of things is that a lot of women feel the same way she do. A lot of our sisters feel the exact same way she do, um, and they'll lure black men in until they have their children, and that'll come out. You know, a lot of women feel like they got played or they didn't know a man for real. I feel like personally, men are who they are, and we blind ourselves. But I feel like it's a lot of men that have children by women like that, sons by women like that, raising their sons. And especially if she don't want to, if that's how she feel, you not having a relationship with him. So that's what he exposed to. And everybody, all we can say as black women is, but your mama black, and that's who's raising him. We don't ever talk about that.
Man, it's so interesting. Like I just went with what I was seeing.
Right.
But
Me,
check this
I
out.
put them on to school every morning for the bus. I cooked their dinner every night before they went to bed.
Back it up. Here we go. Play.
I've been with this woman all my life, my childhood life. I feel
Why weren't
that
you going to school?
because I was with her.
But you were still a child. How you gonna take care of 3 kids at 14?
I don't know, Your Honor.
You quit going to school altogether?
Yes, ma'am. And when I tried to go back to school, she didn't want me to go.
Where were
guess
your
'cause she wanted-
parents?
My mother didn't agree with the relationship at first, and I turned against what my mother said and moved away with Helen all the way to the country, away from where we stayed at. And I stayed down in the
Just
country
got
with her
real excited
all this
because you
time.
got to puberty, huh?
Yeah, and I had an older woman interested in me. And I guess it just went to my head.
What were you giving them? What could you provide them?
I don't know. Probably a babysitter.
Or your body, huh?
No.
Not that either? So to be the babysitter, she married you? You think that was the only
I
reason?
don't know, Your Honor.
And these 3 kids were hers?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you have kids together?
One. The last one.
So you don't think that you should pay her any support down because you've been
No, Your Honor.
supporting her for the last 9 years?
I mean, I wasn't able to work because I was too young to work.
Right.
But I stayed there with the kids when she was at work. I got them dressed for school, and I took care of them all day long while she was working.
So have you gone back to school?
No, Your Honor.
You still don't have a high school diploma?
No, Your Honor.
Ooh. Now, I don't really have the power to do this, but I'm going to strongly suggest, Mr. Gray, that you now take some time to do something for yourself.
I will,
And
Your Honor.
that you get back in school and at least get your high school equivalency diploma. It's called GED. They do offer that down in North Carolina, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I really strongly suggest that you do that because now you can't blame her, right?
No,
Because the
ma'am.
marriage is ending.
Yes.
Right? What about that, Mrs. Gray? What's he talking about?
He is lying, Your Honor. I
Oh,
have been
goodness.
with him.
Can't you guys be more original than that? He is lying.
He is lying. He the one that pushed for this relationship. He got mad at me because I didn't want to marry him in the beginning because I told him he was not ready for that responsibility. He
How
knew
did you get
that.
hooked up with him in the first place?
He the one that kept coming to my house.
Okay.
Kept looking for me.
So he came to your house looking for you. How old were you?
I was 22. I had just got out of a bad relationship.
And when you were 22 and this little boy, that's all he was,
That's all he
kept
was.
coming to your house
And I told
looking
him
for
from the
you,
beginning.
why couldn't you push him away? Why couldn't you send that child on his way?
Because I had just got out of a bad relationship and he knew that and he just took that
You
upon
knew that
himself.
too. You
Yes,
knew
I
that.
did. Yes, I did.
And so what could this little kid provide for you?
Because he was telling me everything I wanted to hear.
A child, Mrs.
Yes.
Gray?
He has a very good talk game. Very good.
Mrs. Gray, I don't care if he talks as much as Einstein knew math. He was still 14 and you were 22. Now, what could he talk and say that he's going to do for you that would cause you to marry him?
But he lied to me about his age. That's how all this started. He told me he was 18. When I found out how old he really was, I was already 5 months pregnant.
No, Your Honor.
So you didn't even bother to find out and verify?
When I found out about it, it was too late. I was already pregnant.
How long?
No,
So
no,
you,
no.
in other words, you
years.
started having sex before you even knew the man's age?
No. He waited 2 years. We waited 2 years before this happened.
What?
Wow.
What? Have you seen that clip before?
No, I don't. A little bit, but not the whole thing. Not all that. Not all that. The first thing I want to say is like, just imagine if it was just a 14-year-old girl and a 22-year-old man. That's the black man, black girl. He groomed her. It's not right. Throw the book at him. Like, to be acceptable for this to even be an episode on TV. It just goes to show that we are, as a collective, we are ashamed of nothing but offended by everything. You know what I mean? And it's sickening because I have nephews. I have 9 nephews. I can only imagine 14. You know what I mean? I feel like 15 too. You know what I mean? I don't play. We shouldn't play about that.
This is where the predators come from. Like, because you know that first video, talk about the misandries, right? And then you think about what kind of sons end up coming from women like that, and then these are the sons.
Right.
Because like, think about it, right? Even before this woman was in the picture,
Right.
he was already living in a home life where he was already being dropped off. You know what I'm saying? Like at 14, go be with this woman up here.
Mm. He
I
didn't.
don't.
Respect nothing his mom had to say either.
Yeah. Well, that's how it normally happens, though. You know,
Right. You didn't hear
when,
nothing about no dad though, like you said.
and never nothing about no dad. These
Right.
situations like this don't have nothing to do with the dad ever.
Right.
Just complete chaos.
Right.
Then I found, so we'll move on to the next one. Then, so funny you said ain't no dad, right? So check this out.
They need to go to school. They need to learn about the world.
Justin! Jackson! Would you please come down here for a second?
What?
How old are you now, Jackson?
13?
Can you tell me what the Bill of Rights is?
What something costs, I guess.
It's a good guess. Justin, you're in high school? You like it?
Just whatever.
Do you know what the Bill of Rights is?
It's a government thing, right? Like rights that people have in America and stuff.
Yep. Hey, Saja?
She's so proud.
Would you please come down here a moment, sweetie? I wanted to ask you a quick question. Saja just turned 8, by the way. Bill of Rights.
Amendment 1. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of...
Stop. Regurgitating memorized amendments isn't what I'm asking for. Just tell me something about it in your own words.
It's not the Bill of Rights. We'd be more like China. Here, at least, we don't have warrantless searches. We have free speech. Citizens are protected from cruel and unusual punishments.
That's enough.
Are protected.
Wait a minute. Sergeant, how would you characterize the 2010 Supreme Court decision on Citizens Unite?
Corporations have the same rights as people, so there's no spending limit on candidates. Which means a country is ruled by corporations and their lobbies to fund candidates and command their fealty by demanding...
You made your point. We get it. It's very impressive. All of you.
Man. She's a machine.
A machine. Man. And even though that this is, acted out and is scripted and everything, the fact that you had brought up, like there was no dad in the house, that situation, and then we went right to this clip, and we hadn't even talked about this beforehand. I said, because I wanted to show a contrast of the impact, you know what I'm saying, and even what it looks like, because we've seen the wildest simulations on everything else that don't make sense. Why not this,
Right.
Because nobody can sit back and just look at somebody's kid and be like, yeah, I could tell he been living in a sexual relationship with some woman that's 8 years older than him when he was 14.
Right.
Can't nobody predict that on nobody, but
Right.
it's the same thing though. It just goes to show you that male influence is significantly different, and everybody knows the difference between the two. Because how do boys get so far away from their dads? You know what I'm saying? How any of their kids in general, obviously, but. Yeah, I just wanted you to see that and see what you thought of it or whatever. The kid's a machine.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're gonna get to a dating pool topic.
Women
Okay.
to take accountability for how terrible the dating pool is. We started taking advice from hoes. Not the old school hoes either that was on Backpage and Craigslist. Hoes that get online showing their full face, their full government is on their page, and they're telling whole stories, but they're not telling the whole story. So now women think that they man and they trick is supposed to act the same. Tricks and boyfriends, they supposed to pay rent and buy bags and buy shoes and take you out to eat 4 times a week, and it's never gonna fucking happen. Boyfriends usually ain't got no money. Tricks usually have money because they're emotionally unavailable and probably just terrible people who are only looking for power and control over a woman's body. But y'all want to take advice from these women. Y'all, now look. Now men think they can buy pussy. Now when you looking for love, you go on a date, you shocked that the man think he paying for pussy by buying you filet mignon and some risotto. Yeah, we did that. We were part of the problem. All these BBLs and stuff. Y'all don't think that got something to do with how sex work and normal love life have somehow become intermingled and stuck together forever in a way that's irreparable? I'm just a bitch who smoke weed. Don't ask me nothing.
Where's the lie?
Yeah. Do you have anything that you could add to that?
I want to add that, growing up, like we got my mother is from Belize,
Mm-hmm.
that country next to Honduras and Guatemala. My father is from Southern California. I was born in Southern California, and both families, but women are from both sides of my family, from different continents, gave us the whole talk. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Use your vanity, use your looks, and use your body, and you'll get whatever you want to break them in. His heart, his pockets, everything. So she's absolutely not lying. Little girls are groomed to use what they got to get what they want. Players Club wasn't lying. You know what I mean? She's not lying. And the expectation, so many women, I heard a man say that, the reason why men are kind of sketchy of all of you, the educated queens and the ratchet queens, stripper queens, all these black women in different areas, categories, your mentality is the same. You all are listening to the same thing. You could look different aesthetically, but your mentality is the same. The working woman is no different than the educator that's teaching your kids. You know what I mean? Mentality wise. So what sets you apart? You know what I mean? And it's really like I said, no shame. It's always a woman's going to always play victim, be victim, and get the sympathy because there's so many women that trauma bond across social media and nobody calls it out. You know what I mean? We definitely pissed in it. We definitely did.
Where do you think it goes from here? Do you think it could be corrected?
Eve was told not to bite the apple. You know what I'm saying? The forbidden fruit. Since the very beginning, we do what we want. You know what I'm saying? We do what feels. We follow our feelings. We never follow common sense, even though we have it. Women's intuition. We say we got it. Like I said, we ball out in every area of our life, but the dating world. In the dating world, we're the victims and we don't know no better. But it can be corrected when we correct ourselves. It's self-correction first and foremost. And it's like I said, where the women go, the culture goes. If you know that from your womb, from the people that you lay with, you can either perpetuate a curse that's been happening for generations in your family, where there's been just homes housed by single mothers, or you can choose somebody that may be unfamiliar because, like you said, you're not familiar with the male presence in your home and in your everyday life. But it takes going against feminism, going against the generational curse of man hating and misandry for real. Because so many black girls don't even know why they don't like black men, aside from their mama told them that they ain't shit. Other than that, they don't have no personal stories. They meet good brothers and their mamas and their aunties and everybody single, chase them young men away because you're not going to poison my daughter with love. You're not going to raise no black family on my watch, not on mama's watch. So many black grandmothers traded in their grandchildren's fathers so they could be daddy. You know what I mean? Keep that line with no men in it. And when they have grandsons, those are the ones that's usually the menaces because they get so coddled because granny baby can't do no wrong.
Of course not. No. Man, you wrapped up a lot of the regular issues like in a very short span of time with that. I like that, man, because when we like the last show we was talking about, like behaviors and uh, being able to have better discernment. But like, how can your discernment increase when you're getting so much one-way information that's all centered on uh, um, a hurt person? Like that's what they gravitate towards. Like, there's a big difference in watching stuff that you're interested in, and then wallowing in your own pity, and now you only dialed into things that speak to the negativity. You know what I'm saying? That you pay attention to. Like some people think that some people like those crime shows, right? But they don't mean they want to go commit a crime. They just value, you know what I'm saying, the investigation of it, because
Right.
that's great. Because once you give somebody enough resources and stuff, they'll get very creative about getting the answers that they want, and then
Right.
getting them very quickly, with the least amount of effort. But these people don't care about solving problems, though. That's why they think the way that they think. That's what I talk about a lot of. Most people do not have a problem solving mindset, because it would require them to get to a level of vulnerability that I almost feel like you got no clothes on. Because
Mm.
how you gonna act when you find out the thing that you've been doing the same way all your life has been the wrong way the entire time?
Right. Right.
Don't nobody want their world destroyed.
Mm. That's the
You
truth.
know, yeah, keep me comfortable. That's what comes from it. It's like, it's gonna rain today. How you know? You wanted to rain? Well,
Right.
like what's the point? You know, but a lot of people, man, they just don't want their worlds destroyed. They don't want to face who they actually are.
And like I think also leading back to the last video when she said the dating pool got pissed in it, I don't want to go too far off, but like, a lot of women have created these families with people that they never loved, never liked, never respected outside of the bedroom. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You just deprived your child of a father because he was just a club hookup. It's so many stories. I have personally, I know I have so many cousins. My mom is one of 10. You know what I mean? My
Mm-hmm.
dad and sisters have so many children. Like, I just know so many people, so many stories. Young girls getting caught up because you couldn't control your lust. You know what I mean? And the truth is that you really don't know they fathers. That's the truth, most of y'all. And it's not about Maury Povich. This is real life in a lot of cities across America. You know what I mean? You really thought that you can be in your whole face, act like a man, act like a lady, think like a man. You really thought this was gonna work until you was left with the responsibility of raising the kid, and to save face, y'all be making up stories and lying. I know that for a fact. I know that personally.
I did the best I could.
Mm-hmm.
No, you did what you wanted to do.
Your daddy didn't want you. You didn't even know this man. You didn't know his name.
And
Waving at your phone, that lady.
man, I one time I saw this thread. Somebody said Maury Povich exploiting the black community. I said, no, you taking your stuff to him.
Thank you.
He don't know what you're doing until you show up, and he holding that envelope. You know what I'm saying?
And it just made no sense that it's really 10, 15. And this is like your conception period. If you know anything about the menstrual, that's like 5-day window. In a 5-day window, you slept with 15 people unprotected. Like,
That's
where's the
wild.
self-love and where's the self-discipline and where's the care and concern for your child, for your body?
That is emotional mutilation.
Right.
That's so much. That's so much more specific in a behavior where somebody say, "Oh yeah, you got more than however many, whatever the frequency is for these events."
Mm-hmm.
But like the ones you feel comfortable talking about is usually only a third of the ones you actually did.
Right.
So like when somebody start talking like that, you might want to go ahead and find you some other place to move around.
Right.
It's gonna get a little dangerous. I put some money on that, because man, we only talking about the stuff that we react to.
Right. Right.
Think about how much stuff we walk past. Man, I told somebody one day, I said, you know how many dummies you got to walk past before you get to a smart person?
Right. Facts.
That's a lot to think of when you think about your age, where you've lived, who you work with, things you've done, where you done them at. And if you manage to have a friend that can bob and weave through it, all of that, and whether it's all contact all the time or no contact for a while, you can't pay for that.
Right.
Especially when you have so many of the opposite mindset walking around, you being completely undisciplined, and you looking at them like, man, you always getting out of jail. When they gonna keep you? when they gonna keep you?
Man, that's the truth.
Yeah, keep some of these folks, man. They ain't doing nothing out here.
Or somebody always getting broken, but they always got a broken heart. Victim. Always a
The,
victim.
the people that say, I love hard. That's why I'm always No, you being a sucker. You
For
you
real. You don't
you,
have boundaries.
you ain't got no boundaries. It's got
Right.
to be somebody else's fault. That's all that I hear. They don't even
Mhm.
think about the coded language that they use. Like, I
You right?
love hard. You a fool on
Right.
purpose.
On purpose, for real.
Yeah, you an intentional fool. That's all I hear.
Right.
It's just wild business at this point. The the level of dissonance that it's just prominent, man. It's just people still caring about the same old conversations, but
Right.
not having a conversation about the behavior that that ends the other conversation that produced it. And what I mean is that when you ever been around somebody and you be talking about, I don't something completely academic, right? You talking about something academic, and then somebody in a random moment of boredom blurts out something that has something to do with fashion, sports, and it just wasn't even a climate for it. And then, like, what you listening to is somebody really like misfiring.
Right. That's true.
We were talking about, like, I don't know, going to some event,
Hmm.
who catering the event, and then somebody, I got more bitches than you.
Right.
Like, where that came from, dog? You know, I don't like the way you talk, man. Because like, when you in a space of solving problems, you got somebody that's always competing with you for no reason,
That's true.
and it gets revealed to you in the most inopportune way. It's never convenient. Like, stuff will get revealed to you. It don't get revealed to you when it's comfortable. It get
Hmm.
revealed to you when you're about to do something, but before you take this next step, you need to refine, the way that you think before you go forward.
Right.
So yeah, it's these people that come up with these opinions like this and these experiences, and they try to make us emotionally invest in in their storytelling for their
Mhm.
unique experience. There's just a bunch of master manipulators out here.
Right.
Like, we got to call it what it is. This is like being a victim is a sign of a narcissistic society too, because
Absolutely.
I'll never be able to understand every single thing that that anyone does. But one thing I won't do is participate in intellectualism.
Right.
Like, you being stupid and argumentative on purpose. Nah, bro, you
Right.
got that. Y'all go over there, talk about flat Earth all you want to, and putting
Right.
magnets in the basketball rim so Steph Curry's shot can go in all the time.
Right.
I you get the right to deal with the experiment that makes sense to you.
Right.
So, but hit me with the questions though. Here we go.
Okay.
Yeah, let's get it.
All right. When we talk about generational curses,
Hmm.
what are the top 2 or 3 patterns that you think need to be broken immediately?
The top one is quit having sex with the wrong people.
Right.
Um,
I agree. Absolutely.
yeah, because you can't get anything right after if you start off there. I'm not saying you can't correct it. We just don't know how it looks
Right.
because people just keep stumbling through it over and over again. Because if you do it one time, you're gonna get the same person pregnant again. And then
Mm-hmm.
the other thing is too, if you completely turned off by them, I mean, I'm speaking to the men. If you completely turned off by them, you're gonna go out here and create another relationship outside of that.
Right.
So that's where, like, if you, it's a lot of granddads that's in people's family trees with a side family,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the group of people that's always talking about all men cheat,
Right.
and but that never bring out the women that cheat, even though whole families full of side chicks with no uncles in the family.
Right.
You got a house full of cousins and aunties. Like,
Man.
what are uncles? Nobody.
Right. Not lying.
Who the uncles at?
Mm.
So that's one. Two, you got to stop. You got to stop listening to people that ain't fixed themselves yet.
Mm.
And and I know that, and the reason I said that because it's difficult to see if a person is communicating from love or hurt when you don't have the experience to balance it out. And you force the people that have to listen to them to use their gut instinct, and that's not easy to do. You know,
Right.
they could easily they don't know they're being manipulated.
Mm. That's
I,
true.
yeah, they don't know that because nobody believes or walks around thinking if their mother, their aunt, or a niece or anything or anybody that's in a marriage is gonna, like be that close to family that can actually hurt them because the truth is, it's a lot of families that, in general, your first negative experience is gonna happen in proximity. So if you spend a lot of time around your family, the first people that's gonna violate you is gonna probably like be your family.
Right.
So, but you got to figure that out early
Hmm.
as much as you can. I know, uh, they talk about, what was the 80s like when it came to competition between Michael Jackson and Prince. But at no point did it get to the point where it was going to be a scale of violence associated with it. So they
Right.
just had to work through those kinks. And even when MJ passed away, Prince, like mourned him, because he
Right.
was his competition. We got to know the difference between an opponent and an enemy.
Mm. Right.
An opponent is just a temporary obstacle or whatever, and you could deal with that in a respectful manner, because you shouldn't you shouldn't have to suppress your desire to win just because somebody else sucked.
Right. You're right.
And
Mm.
but an enemy, that's somebody that can't tell the difference between the two.
Right.
You just like, I'm doing my thing and I like to win. An enemy don't like nobody to win.
Right.
So, um, and I throw in a bonus one too. Women gotta stop faking like they like each other.
Mm.
Just like that woman was saying, like she's an outright misandrist.
Hmm.
Women gotta be honest about their connections with each other, because those those fake friendships and those that fake unity, it
Right.
sends a mixed signal between the children. But the children be like, some of them gonna see, oh, my auntie's great, this, that, and the other. Then they get a little bit older and they realize their auntie was shit.
Right. You're not lying. You're not lying. And people, I think that the black community drops the ball with, you know, do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah,
I'm not realizing that children, when they're developing, especially the formative years, ages 0 through 5, um, they're modeling your behavior. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
because they can't
Everything.
read. They
Right.
can't. They can't read. They're not going any place to study.
Hmm.
Like what they're looking at. They don't have a definition for it.
Right.
So when you see them twerking and they got their phone, like they got that from you.
Right.
They couldn't have got it from nowhere else. I think those fake those fake fake love friendships that get modeled in front of children confuses them,
Hmm.
because then they go repeat that at school with other people that's raised in the same fake ass environments too,
Right.
because they're not coming from two vastly different backgrounds at all times. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why it's important, and I always bring up the school piece, because those are children that bully your kids.
Right. You're right.
Because
Definitely.
they're not heard at the house. Like, and the other byproducts of women having these fake relationships with each other, even within their own families, is I've never met a black woman that ain't never been touched
Mm.
by, what I'm saying, in an SA situation. I would say 90% of the black women that I've talked to.
Definitely.
And when they bring it up, their mothers see it as them being promiscuous.
Right.
They don't even acknowledge it. As like that's what somebody did to my daughter. That's what somebody did to my child. They just automatically default to say you trying to sleep with my boyfriend.
Mm.
You see, this stuff gets published all online, and I'm sitting back like, yo, you ain't got no shame.
Right.
And then to be mad at what's going on in U.S. politics, then what happened to your kid is kind of crazy to me.
Come on now. Facts. That's the truth. And it's like, oftentimes, like you said, even that is generational. So mama then got touched and inappropriately told her mama who did nothing. Grandma got touched, told her mama who did nothing. And, sometimes this is in the family, fathers and uncles and cousins. And so it's like, for me, it's like, how can you, like you always say, even if you don't have children, you were a child before. So
Yeah,
knowing how you felt, not being believed or feeling shamed for it, speaking up and still seeing this person at family events, still seeing this person being around children, grandma saying that thing, auntie saying nothing. No, like you said, females, the females protecting this person, not speaking on it, no charges being pressed, no conversation being had, not even are you okay? How do you feel? Nothing.
right. Yeah,
And then you get mad when your daughter handing out for free in the streets, has no dignity, has no respect, has 4 and 5 baby daddies. Now you shamed, right? But a lot of these behaviors come from that too. You know what I mean? And it's like nobody cares, so why should I care about me when nobody cared about me? Nobody showed up for me, and it's very, like you said, confusing. It's very wrong. We have a lot of work to do within us because, like you said, take the men away, we still have a whole bunch of problems amongst us. And
yeah,
if
because
we're
that's what a
heading
community is right there. Like,
we had in 71% of these households, look at what we're teaching. We haven't even mastered self. We haven't even mastered our emotions. And
no,
we're raising the babies primarily. You know what I mean?
cross pollinating bullies.
Right? Man.
And sprinkling bully dust on everything, and then expecting peaceful people is like wow to me. And then it's just a lot of over mothering. And under even if there's men presence, there's an extreme level of over mothering. Because like the kids go to school and the teachers are 80% women in most
Right.
cases, maybe 90. So, and then most times the teachers don't have no kids,
Right.
and they cool with telling your kid what to do and getting the pseudo initiation,
Right.
and then until the kid decides to act their age and do some 14-year-old kid, what I'm saying, some sort of childish behavior. Now he had to cutting animals to pieces, what I'm saying, because you couldn't look up from your phone. You're like, I didn't know he had taken that on.
Come on now.
He had to
The truth.
barbecuing his coworkers instead of with them.
You know?
and
That's the
then
truth.
they're collecting squirrels. Stop. I didn't know. That's not an excuse no more.
It's really not. And it's like people, they always want to take credit for the good in their children. The bad part from their daddy, though, well, mothers, let me not say people, mothers. The bad part, all the bad parts of their child, that's their daddy side.
You
You know
know
what
what? Right there, you did something very good. You said people, and then you corrected yourself, and then you said mothers.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're not specific enough. That's another
Right.
thing, too. Because when it's about women, it's always people. Or it
Yes,
depends. And like, nah.
mothers, I gotta be real. I'm not gonna lie. Mothers, they take all the praise. They want all the praise. If this child becomes a successful NBA player, if our daughter makes it and goes to the majorettes and she's in a all black
You
school,
walk
yes,
around like LeBron.
yes,
You
mama
know
did. You know what I mean? But when our son ends up in prison, that's your daddy's side. Your daddy was always a thief. When our daughter is pregnant as a teenager, that's your daddy's side. His family full of those. It's never, if you want to take, the accolades, you got to be willing to take the responsibility for when you a failure as a parent, because y'all can't look up from your phones. Always online arguing about what you can get, what my kids as well, because you spend all day talking to me. How do you have time to tend to your man or your family. You know what I mean? That's a lie. A lot of women get triggered because, for me, it's so many days like just publishing my content, working hard, responding, trying to balance my life and things. It's like 20 against me. And the thing is, I'm not gonna let up. I don't care. I'm not named Queen Smoke for nothing. I'm not gonna let up on the truth. I'm not gonna let up on. I don't care if y'all all have the same experience. This is telling me that you guys don't care and you guys are negligent with your choices and decisions and sexual reproduction and bringing a child into the world for somebody. That's one of the main things of being that we dropped the ball on. You know what I mean? We dropped the ball a lot, and our children, they yearn for that father. Every child yearns for their father. Every child wants to know the piece of shit, you know what I mean, that you chose, the alcoholic, the drunk. And a lot of y'all, you don't want to really admit it that, you participated in the same behavior with the man. One of y'all just had to grow up. Like, we got to keep it 1,000. Stop lying to ourselves.
We just had somebody was riding on the back of Young Jeezy's car. Not that long ago, that just trying to find a way to just cause some kind of disruption and chaos.
Right.
For what? For what kind of attention? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like a way of just always having to find a way to have a name at the top of some kind of conversation,
Right.
And you're not even producing anything.
Right.
Like, you gotta think about how long you've been on social media, right?
Right.
You've been on social media over 10 years. Safe to say?
Yeah, very safe to say.
Yeah, it's very safe to say, right?
Yeah.
And you see, it is a very, very permissible environment to create something that people gravitate towards it. You can pick whatever, you can create a community out of anything.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Yeah, like I created a community off of, what I'm saying, people discussing sex. Because that's
Right.
what they log in to do.
Right.
But the whole community can have a conversation, and the icebreaker be about who eating butt. But we can't talk about solving a problem. We finding ways to make room for pedophiles to be in the community still.
Right. Right.
Like, I don't know. The white man set him up. Like, but how about eating butt though? You know what I'm saying?
Man,
It's just
it's
strange.
the truth. It's the truth. Like, PTA meetings, even in high school age, my parents up until college, like, they was always there. Anything I had I was like 24. I was in junior college. I had a family night, and I told my family, like, y'all want to come? They like, we going, all of us, 12 deep, 10 deep, like, always showing up for me no matter what. It matters. You know what I'm saying?
It does.
A lot of parents, they just, if it's a man, because it's a lot of, this is a popular thing coming out too, like a lot of male-centered mothers, you know what I mean? And it's not those children's dad. You guys will accommodate, and a lot of mothers don't even celebrate their children's birthdays. But that man, you know what I mean? They don't even cook for their children, but that man, you using your government benefits for that man, for his dinner. So it's so many children that go without because mama is so focused on a man. You know what I mean? And the girls, they mimic that, and the boys, that's their standard. Okay, yeah, I don't have to do anything, and she gonna do everything. And the girls, I have to do everything for his love. And then when you grow up and mama older, and now she hate men because they ain't, she done brainwashed all of y'all. Now she wonder why you putting up with that? Why you got that kind of man? They don't never want to own up to nothing. Nothing.
No, yeah, like I think, and that's the part too where I talked about those fake feminine connections.
Right.
All it does is reinforce lies. Like, when you got men involved, you can't be fake around your uncles. You can't be fake around your brother. Somebody gonna beat you up.
Right. Yes.
Because they didn't already discuss it. Like, hey, man, he come out here look crazy again. You go ahead and snuff him out, and we're gonna figure this out after
Right.
Because if they lie if they will lie and try to fight to keep the lie alive, eventually you're gonna have a lot of friction in your family if you got a bunch of men that practice communication the same way.
Right.
That's why, like I brought up previously, like you need to go be a nomad. You need to go live on the land a little bit. You know,
Mm.
like they say, touch grass. Most people they're not gonna touch grass. So we got rap artists that's naming beauty products after STDs.
Right. It's just despicable behavior, and it's like, how
And I
far do
was
you
I
descend?
refuse to acknowledge my name too. I know
Exactly.
what I'm talking about.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And it's just despicable, especially when
Mhm.
you're a mother. You know what I mean? And a lot of average or working class, or even if you bought a boss entrepreneur making 100K, all these wild,
All
wild.
the, all the characteristics.
Yeah. You know what I mean? As a mother, you know what I mean? You have no conscience. I don't care about your brand. I'm not saying every brand need to be about the kids or anything, but as a human being, as a black mother, what do you stand for? This brand is more important than the kids that you have at home, and everybody that supported it and defends it and justifies it and condones it. You're the same prototype. Y'all are literally the same prototype, thinking alike, acting alike, same outfit, same hair, same baby hair, same eyelashes, same claws, same type of man. But I'm the pick me when I tell you that you're wrong. It's the truth. You're wrong.
These women come out
I
here and
don't
they got a uniform.
want to be friends. If I can't be friends, if I can't tell my friends the truth, then we ain't friends. We ain't meant to be. You know what I mean? But so many women condone that because they all making the piss poor decisions. That's why. And
Hmm.
to call you out is to call me out.
Yeah.
I'm not calling the kettle black. That's the friendships. Like you said, they all fake. And the only reason that they want to be your friend is to know your business so they can tell the next group of friends. It's it. It's nasty and it's catty. And it's
Yep.
disgusting behavior, and that's raising the children.
I'm telling you that is the byproduct of putting a man in a subservient position,
Right.
because I always say nobody's more tone police than black men,
Mm,
because black women will say black men need to step up, but then they'll say not step up like that.
right.
Then you guys need to be present and the most present, you know. Um, but when it comes down to finances and distribution of,
Mm,
like of that, then it's a whole different conversation again,
right.
because there's no trustworthy connection where you could trust a woman based on her merit, because like how do you grade a woman?
Mm,
Like again, what do they create without kids involved? And then when you look at the behavior of the children, then you're like, I ain't got no reason to trust you because that's your resume. I don't
mm.
care what you look like. I don't
They
care what you
read
look
your
like.
paper. Your children.
Your,
Your
your children
children.
is your resume.
You ain't never lied. They your qualifications for anybody to believe you. The way
Man,
in which they behave, or and y'all think that I seen a clip earlier before this session, and it was a Spanish lady, I believe, but she was saying how a lot of single mothers say, "Oh, my kid can't see the dad because he's a drinker, or he's on that shit." Like she was just
yeah,
naming all these different excuses on why he has poor character in the kid, and he can't father, he can't parent. But she said, but children are essayed by their highest rate is their mother's boyfriend. So
yep,
this they bio father, they bio parent, the person that created them can't have access to them, but you're still putting them in harm's way. You know what I mean? You still making piss poor choices in your decisions. So
man.
how are you the more suitable parent, even though you're primary? You know what I mean?
You made me think about something just then too, because earlier we were talking about, my theory is that the children of single parents, they can't inherit nothing but the mindset that they've been raised with,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not likely to be attracted to someone from a two-parent home, and if they are, the likelihood of it working out is even slimmer, because what I'm saying, attraction is one thing, acceptance is another, you know
Right.
and and we've been limiting the conversation to just black people, because that's what we're focused on right now, right? But I've seen that over and over again outside of the ethnicity. and I found a video a while back, and I'm gonna look for it at some point. That it was a Dominican guy. It was the same format was happening in the Dominican Republic in this one family. Like this dude came around, and all three of the women knew who the guy was, and there was a son that was like, "Who is that?" He
Right.
getting back and forth with this guy, and then it was revealed to him at that point, like all three of the women that are the senior matriarchs in the family are all side chicks.
Mm.
So like, there's no connectivity, there's no solid dialogue from the biological father. So in essence, the feminine energy that's been running his family has been running around unchecked and dangerous with each other, because I was talking to my boy Cavi. I don't know if you ever seen him. Me and him be on live sometimes, and we had an episode about domestic violence. And you know one of the stats that we talked about was the level of mutual combat between mothers and daughters. I said, you know what? I bet you most of these shelters were put together because the mothers and daughters fight each other. They've been fighting each other since the beginning of time.
Right.
And it's so much more common, you know what I'm saying, than one would think. So if your daughter is worried about you putting hands on her,
Mm.
then when she go to school, she already ready for war, because the likelihood of her school peer getting hands put on her by her mother is pretty high.
Right.
So that means that they don't even trust women.
Mm.
That's why the fake friendships be really manifestations, in my opinion, of the way that they've learned how to become girls and women in front of their own aunts and sisters and
And I want
everything.
to say, like, for me, in my experience, it's not just a theory. It's an experience. It's the truth. You know, I always hear that, me and my sisters and my mother, we're too good. We think we're perfect. We think we're better than the whole family and everybody. And I think that just comes from the simple fact that we are loyal. We don't out each other. We still go through our share of stuff, but we respect the woman in one another. You know what I mean? And the friendship that we've built since childhood, because our mother made us. You know what I mean? I have three sisters. My mother was the type that said I had 6 children, so you don't need any friends. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you have three sisters. Who do you
Right.
need? Of course, I was actually on the opposite side of, how a lot of black women say that, oh, I'm only friends with men because women is drama. Personally, a lot of women from, the schoolyard, middle school, high school, college, even now, black women gravitate towards me, because I think they see like the possibility of what it's like when you experience kindness. My mom was always preaching and preaching and preaching to be a kind person. You don't have to be nice, be kind, treat everybody, you know what I mean? All races. My mom is like so sweet. When we meet her coworkers, when we meet her friends, anybody that comes across her, they be like, "Your mom, I love your mom." Everybody. And as a little girl, that's what I wanted to emulate. I want people to love me. Like, I want to walk into a room and they feel it and they gravitate towards me. And I got my wish, you know what I mean? So a lot of these households, being friends with so many young black girls in all different stages of my life, the common theme was, I wish I had this relationship like you and your mom. When I stay at night at their homes, you know what I mean, and I see that they getting woken up being called a bitch, and they got to clean their mama whole house, and they got brothers here, and they Cinderella to the household. This is not just once. This is not just twice. I wouldn't say it if I didn't see this over and over again.
Right.
Been getting deeper in my own family. So I'm not going to sit here and lie and cap and protect nobody that portrays this Cruella de Vil evil stepmother persona to your own flesh and blood. You know what I mean? Calling your daughters bitches and hoes, beating their ass till they black and blue, embarrassing them when your man around. But then you have the nerve to say, oh, you know what I mean? Why'd you choose this guy? Because you've been calling me a bitch and beating my ass before the beginning of time. So what makes him any different? He loved me too. You told me you loved me. He loved me too. And that is so hard for a lot of black women to digest, because you cannot redo, you cannot repeat, and you cannot erase the damage that you've done to your children. And so many black children deserve an apology, but they get gaslit and they get denied their feelings. You know what I mean? Over and over again. Mama in the black community is more important than God. You know what I mean? You cannot disturb her peace, no matter how wrong she is. You cannot. Mama make you walk on eggshells. If daddy come home when he had a bad day, if the house got a dad, but if a man come home and he have a bad day, nobody's checking for him. That's his
No,
bad day. If mama have a bad day, the whole household gonna feel it.
man, look, financially, everybody has to adjust if the man experiences some level of financial chaos, right?
Hmm.
And then everybody has to decide, like they have to eat, like beans or something. The diet is decided, you know what I'm saying, based on the money, right? Then after that, it's like, why you leaning in? We already know that we at a disadvantage.
Right.
And then, but on the other side of that, instead of showing up and being in, a prayer from old for that particular person so they can get back to where they was, you want to kick them while they down.
Right.
Because that's the way that you reinforce your communication. Like, we don't do that. Excuse me. We don't get together, huddle around the table and find out who we gonna, hate on as a unit.
Right.
Yeah, like, yeah, we're gonna discredit this one particular individual because I don't like the way he wear a belt. You know what I'm saying? Something weird.
Right.
It's like everything's weird after that. Cause like, why you got that much energy for somebody that, like, you don't, if you're not creating anything, you're not solving no problems, you're only interacting with this person when it's an advantage to talk crazy to him, that you'll never do that in nobody's face.
Never.
Never. Like, I always see women pulling up at somebody else's house and think they're gonna whoop somebody's ass at their house.
Come on now.
And then they be running each other over with cars,
And being carried out. It was a story with cousins, and I was actually going through something similar, with some cousins that was feuding on social media.
Hmm.
And two of them pulled up to their cousin's house, kids out, mama out, everybody out, beefing, They pulled
Hmm.
up and they got what they was looking for. Their cousin took both of their lives, unalived them both. And I don't know, she's somewhere locked up. This happened last year. I'm just saying it's not funny, but it's funny because I don't know in what world, what earth y'all living in. I think that if you buck into somebody's house and you don't know what's awaiting you.
The
And
poor
you
emotional
right?
discipline.
Yeah, like it's just
And
I
and
have no
that's
tolerance for that childish behavior. You know
and
what I
that's
mean?
the thing. They don't believe that they can go to jail.
Right.
They don't believe that they freedom. They believe that their emotions give them an excuse,
Mm,
instead of, they see it as an excuse or permission to do what they feel versus saying, "Hey, I'm gonna get punished for
right.
this." They So imagine what kind of kids they raising, because that
Mm,
remember I say all the time, they operate with it. They operate with justifications that they wouldn't allow their children to use as excuses.
definitely. Definitely.
You can't say because I felt like it. Well, you can, but trust me, whatever the person that's banging that gavel gonna feel like, you're gonna get that
Mm,
too.
come on now.
Because the I got this flow chart in my mind called the man in uniform, right?
Hmm.
Your life can go one or two ways, but you're not gonna go through life without respecting men. You're just not.
Hmm.
Because men shape the boundaries of the way you communicate.
Right.
And let's just say you go through life, you're not gonna get out of life without having to deal with men. Just like men ain't gonna get out of life without having to deal with women.
Right.
Because it's gonna be somebody that'll provoke you, enhance you, you know what I'm saying, or whatever. It's because it's a line of demarcation. So the man in uniform is like this. So for the people that's raised, that's listening, if you raised without a man in your life, whether it be a father, any type of accountable, masculine figure, if you don't think that you're gonna, if you think you can move through life and then get away without having to deal with men that actually are in position of authority, you're delusional.
Right.
Because let you leave work today, and and like, and when I say the man in uniform, it's because everybody has to wear a uniform. And follow me what I'm saying. Let's just say you work at AutoZone. You
Hmm.
got your little red shirt on. You know what I'm saying? Get in the zone, AutoZone face ass,
Hmm.
and you up there. you got to go back there and get the parts, and somebody up there scuffling with you. You don't like what he said, and then they told you to clock out. Now you mad. You get in your car. You driving angry. You still got your AutoZone uniform on now. Follow me. You driving crazy. You get pulled over because you driving crazy, because you upset. You driving with rage. You in lust right now with anger. Then the man in uniform that pulls you over because it's a cop. You got the lights flashing. You still mad. Now you even more irritated, but you got a decision to make. You can keep it cool or you can escalate. Now, on the safe side of things, you still escalate and then you get disrespectful because you already mad. You ain't got no business driving right now. And then you get them bracelets put on you. Now, the man in uniform is walking you back to the car that's in uniform too. Now, you sitting back there like this. You still got fired. You still got sent home. You still got the AutoZone on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Now your arms behind your back, and it's uncomfortable because it's about as small as this chair I'm sitting in, you know? And you turn sideways, your knees hitting the back of the other side too. You know you ain't made to sit back there. And then the man in uniform makes it to the police station. Both them garage doors come down, and then you know you in there and now it's real. You still got the AutoZone shirt on too. Then the man in uniform take you out the back of the car. They uncuff you and hand you off to some more people in uniform.
Right.
The people that actually manage the inmates, the Department of Correction folks, the jailers, whatever uniform they wearing. They say, "Come on back here." They take your hand, they fingerprint it, and then they hand you another uniform. It's orange and white. It's tan. It's brown. Whatever colors it might be, depending on
Maybe
what you know what I'm saying. You got them. You look like a CNA inmate, you know.
Oh man.
Now you swap out of that. Now you got them orange Crocs on,
Right.
whatever footwear you got. Now you got the uniform on that everybody else got on still. And guess what you still got to do? Respect the politics that's already in there. So now you got to listen to another man in the same uniform as you. So you went from AutoZone to Stripes.
Right.
And your car's still out there on the highway.
About to get
yeah. And you about to lose your job.
Right.
But you just got sent home. You didn't get fired.
Right.
You need to get out of here. You tripping. You know what I'm saying? Because you done lost it about an alternator. So the uniform, the man in uniform represents that sign in the road that lets you know, hey man, most people gonna try to keep you out of trouble. Most people ain't fixing to say, hey, let's go get in some trouble. You know, most people gonna be like, hey, I see what you're doing. Make this tweet. They gonna try to counsel and coach you in some kind of way.
That's
Depending
facts.
on what it is you're doing. But like very rarely somebody gonna bust out the bushes and say, hey, do this meth with me, and then we're fixing to go over here and we finna go paint the town red. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my gosh.
Bring that dog with us too. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We'll have a good old time. We finna go be Florida man. It's gonna be something unnecessary that come out, and you're gonna end up on TV for the wrong reasons. And you might hurt some people.
That's the truth.
See, we don't never take that into account. Who else get hurt alongside, expressing your anger or whatever, And if you're dealing with some people that's putting you in a situation where you even got to think about, like, man, it's going to be an earthquake and then it's going to cause me to have to leave or I'm going to be trapped. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to get to a point of safety. When you having all of that stuff, when you're not having those conversations in your early 20s, get ready to see this young man repeat your last pattern in life.
Right.
And we don't know if it's going to be healthy or not, but we know that there's a pattern there. Anything that repeats itself got ingredients.
Right.
So how long can you spend just consuming information without respecting men. Like nobody should be like man and woman at this point with all of this access to social media and real time engagement shouldn't even hate each other anymore.
Literally.
You should be sitting back saying, I don't mess with them and they don't mess with this quality. But it's
Right.
just too many people have already been brainwashed as it pertains to polygamy that they feel like they only can deserve so much. And that's true to some degree if you don't want more than what you've already earned.
Mm-hmm.
But that is very hard to inspire. Remember I said inspiration is hard to get out of
Right.
because the minute they say when you ask them, what do you want to be when you grow up or what do you want to do? It's the shyest time for a kid. It's like they not. It's almost like not having no clothes on. I'd imagine. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Right. Right.
because like you making it, you making it almost tangible, almost real. But if it's too much ego, it might not be received the right way.
Right.
So man in uniform is serious. You know they're gonna
Mm.
show up, and the thing is, your behavior determines which uniform you have on.
Definitely.
If,
Definitely.
if if you think you can crash out in every store you go in, eventually you're gonna get blocked.
Mm.
And all it takes is a Google review and somebody know your name directly.
Mm.
I ain't got no problem with like if it hit me up with some kind of copyright or something like that because it's already on a public platform. So it'd be different to argue that versus taking somebody else's complete intellectual property and then just acting like it was yours. Just
Right.
like you brought up B Simone, you know what I'm saying? When she stole somebody else's literary work and
Mm.
then and then somebody else made more money off of her thievery and then it still got back to the original author. Man, integrity should never be questioned.
Come on now.
But if you ain't raised right, and and, and I'm a firm believer, I believe women think with their coochie more than men think with their meat.
I agree. 100%. A
Somebody
hundred
has to jump in and
percent.
prove me wrong. You know what I'm saying? Because women do too much feeling for that
And
not to
a lot
be
of
true.
us, especially black women, a lot of us, um, we put our fertility and our um, womb into men's hands. You know, the same ones that ain't shit. You know what I mean? The same ones that we put our womb, we put our lives in their hands.
Man, that's why I
And we
say,
don't trust them to.
mm-mm.
Yeah, we don't trust them. Like I don't know. I just feel like you said the mating got to be a little more. It's mating. That's what it is. It's mating. It's
Yeah,
primal.
it's
It's no.
primal.
That's why back in the day, your daddy had to choose who you was going who you was gonna be with. He
Man,
wasn't
because,
making him look a fool. You know what I mean?
yeah, he ordered like, yeah, my daughter, man, he can already feel it in the sense. He don't even want to say what it is because it's so crazy. What he really want to say is like, hey, bring your son over here because my daughter, she'll make a baby with the wrong man before she make a sandwich for the right one. At least give your son a chance. You know what I'm saying? He really want to say that
Mm,
because it's the truth. Half these kids out here can be replaced with a sandwich.
mm,
You
mm,
could have made a sandwich, but said you went out there and you made little poo shiesty.
for real.
Yeah, like when people
And
talk
forget
about
if you say, like just one thing I want to add because a lot of mothers feel like if I keep him from his dad, he won't. This is his DNA. The influence already in it. The influence was inseminated in you, whether he know him or not. You know what I mean?
give
That's
them
why
to
kids be so connected to their parents and don't even know them. Then when they connect, oh, I'm left-handed like my father, and we walk the same, and it's just so much similarity. So you have to be mindful and be cautious of who you laying down with. Even deeper than that, the mental health, the substance abuse, the drug abuse, that's in DNA, that's imprinted, and you guys don't get it and don't understand. You think just because you put yourself in the decision making position of playing God and you don't even know this man, that he won't be this man or she won't be this man. And it don't work like that.
I just have to sit there and just let it all materialize. You know what I'm saying? Like when I hear it, it come in on a frequency that like you could just see it.
Mm-hmm.
You could just see it. Like and then you could just trace it back to back to back to back, and it never changes. The behavior is the behavior, it's the pattern,
Right.
and nobody that wants to sit, nobody wants to say, I want to change this or I want to break this,
Right.
because the reason why they won't say it is because they're not married. That's part of it too, because people will be talking about generational wealth, but they ain't got no generations.
Definitely.
It ain't like that, man. It's like we our the community got a lot to overcome, and and this is why, like, reproducing with the wrong people puts us further away from having the conversation that need to be had. So I think sexual discipline is the biggest one, because that's stuff that you can control.
On both
Self,
parts too.
yep, self-inflicted wounds are the most regretful wounds. Man, I shouldn't have did that. I shouldn't have did this. I shouldn't have did that. That's the only one where the accountability is as thorough as it is, because nobody pushed you to do it. See, all these kids get made out of consent. It'll be much different if these babies were being made from SA.
Right. Right.
It'd be way different. Then it'd be like, then at that point, we got to have a different conversation about protection and safety and everything else.
Definitely.
It ain't just condoms at that point. You're like, where your pistol at? You got to slap your pocket when you leave the house. You know what I'm saying?
Pepper
Yeah,
spray, taser, and all that.
yeah, exactly. You got to come out like Iron Man. Right. You got to have all types of ways of protecting yourself at that point. But when it's just consensual, and then even then, it only involves that one man. But the threat goes up, because if that one man getting attention from multiple women that's all in competition with each other, he can still take himself out of the situation and let the women scrap it out.
Right.
But that ain't no good spot to be in either.
Right.
But the thing is, from I would say an experimental place that involves in solving problems, you have to still do a process of elimination with human beings in the flesh. So why wouldn't you think you have to do a process of elimination with them in spirit too? Like, to be able to recognize their patterns and where it got it from, and then if you get access to like an older sibling, or the mother, at the right age, you get another look at them and you're like, oh man, I'm gonna mess up and do the same thing again if I don't accept what I see in front of me. Because we got to do a better job at accepting, reality, and the reality that the majority lives in, not
Right.
the reality that's affiliated with you saying the word should.
Right.
Because you don't deserve to get nothing from like the stone itself. You're supposed to get a lesson. If you know that lesson, then you understand that I got another lesson I got to accept somewhere, because you're just not going to get it all from one person, because they didn't do the same type of work that you asking questions about. So you're not even having the same conversation.
Right.
I used to, I would say, not interpret. I used to be very curious about why people go out of their way to disagree with folks on social media that they don't know. It would have a lot more merit if we knew each other,
Right.
because we'd have some context. But when you go out of your way to disagree with people that you don't know, is that a mental illness?
I believe so.
Yeah, like,
And they gravitated too. They gravitate towards it like, flies, you know. But I think they go out of their way because it's the truth, It's like my sister always put it into perspective. Like every time she'd be like, "Don't clap back," the best advice I got, she'd be like, "Just let them say whatever. It's your content. Like they can't come change up your message. Let them say it, and it gives engagement, right?"
yeah.
So, she said pretty much, and I want to tell you the same thing involving what you do. You know, she said, imagine if somebody came in your house, you know, dirty shoes on your carpet, and just came and slapped you, you know, and then walked out. You're gonna be like, who, what, when, where, why? Like, it feels like she said, it feels like you have cameras in their homes. Like, that's how good you read them. That's how good your discernment is. And if you, like you said, of course, I do my research. Of course, I've always had discernment. I've always prayed for wisdom. You know, my grandma prayed for the knowledge, the wisdom, and the understanding, you know. But just like we always say with history repeating itself, common sense would show you the behavior, like you said. This is how you all act, how you all present yourself. And I'm just able to catch on it. I'm able to call you out on it. But you say that that's what you want. You want, oh, I want loyalty. I want good friends. I want this. But your good friends are cut off as soon as they say, hey, girl, that's not how we do things. That's not how a woman is supposed to do things. You public enemy number one. As soon as you critique anything about her, from her parenting, her, you know, anything, the way she carries herself, the men she entertains, the lack of self-worth, you're not her friend no more, like you said.
You out of there.
Friendships. Bye. Now she on social media saying how you got roaches and your kids' pamper ain't changed, and it's all they want to know your business just so they can expose you when they mad, because it's coming. The majority is coming. That's why y'all always can't even occupy a space together. You can't occupy a space for longer than what, a couple of days. Go on a girls trip and come back, and everybody come back different. She come back on this flight. She come back by a bus. Y'all left her.
They just go out of town to break up.
Sisterhood. It's fake. That's why I said the sisterhood is fake, and I don't subscribe to it.
Yep, they just go out of town to break up.
That's it. No loyalty. But like you said, that's something your mother teaches you. Your mother teaches you about, and that's why, you know, sometimes I tell black women, you should want to be your children's friend. You know, not letting them cross boundaries, but you want to be friendly, because you're not one of their little friends, but they tell you nothing. You know what I mean?
But here's a demonstration of what I'm talking about. Okay, so there was a post. It was a pop the balloon thing, and the guy popped his balloon because he couldn't be with the chick because she had cats. Fair. I don't like cats. Cats are dirty animals. They, you know what I'm saying? Like most people that don't like cats, they would agree with that.
Right.
Notice it says 5 weeks ago, right?
Right.
It's not bothering nobody.
Right.
Even in nobody responded to it. I don't care. I said cats are dirty.
Right.
This chick, they are cleaner than men. Not then, but then. Men are the nasty ones. Going out of your way to compare men below a pet is crazy.
Right.
When all men and all women, everybody that's on this earth crawled out of their daddy's balls. Okay.
Right.
Everybody that's here crawled out of their daddy's balls. I want that to be certain. We the ones with the XY. Okay.
Right.
And then so I respond. Obviously, I said they're only cleaner than the men that you can attract. See, when we deal with what you can attract, it hits different. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have to say all women are this or whatever. No, you can only speak on the men that you can attract. You can't speak on the men that didn't make you kids. You can't speak on the men that don't want you, and then the ones that you don't want.
Right.
Because like, and then on top of that, you got 3 kids. Cause I seen the pictures. You got 3 kids and you talking crazy about me, and it's wild to me.
Right.
That's wild to me. Like you better than men, but you keep getting babies by them.
Come on now.
It's weird. You say they bums, so you must be a bum shelter. We gotta keep it a stack, man.
I got the heat on IG, and I guess I'll be a troll, but I'm not a troll. I just tell the truth, and I just put my phone down and go about my business and my day.
Yeah, I don't even think about it no more.
I'm getting cussed out because it was something on IG. Somebody posted like a guy laying down, and then a roach is in front of him, right? A dead roach they both laying on their back, and the caption said, "Me and my baby daddy," you know. And so one sister in the comments, she was like, why would y'all even lay roaches in the first place, right? They trying to assassinate her in the comments. So, here come Queen Smoke, because I'm about to save a good sis, Yeah. And I was like, a roach, you know what I mean? Y'all know that roach infests the house, and y'all still lay with them. You guys loves to expose all the negative. Oh, this nigga is he sleep on, he got a blow up mattress, and he ain't got no furniture, and he don't got no food. But you didn't mind be starving on that blow up mattress when you made your baby. You didn't mind. You know better than him. You know what I mean? So it's just like,
hey, look, remember what Cat Williams said in his stand up? I think the one where it was like '03, and he was telling the story about how this woman was complaining about not being able to attract the right man, and then he said, "What about your coochie? It keeps attracting the men you complain about,
right.
because that's your fault.
Mm.
You ain't got that many tools to work with. Like, generally speaking, a woman, in my opinion, the easiest thing for a woman to do is to be in a relationship with a man. And by easy, what I mean is all you got to do is be nice
Right.
and not talk to him crazy, and he'll do anything under the sun for you if you choose right. If he want to be your husband and you want to be his wife, there ain't too many things that can pop up that you're not prepared to deal with. All things being considered in good faith,
Right.
not beating on each other, not doing no drugs. Both of y'all can cook. It's not an issue. You know what I'm saying? But in the event that you got to do it all on your own and looking for some level of diplomatic support because you're trying to really go on the cool, get some more weapons in your, you know what I'm saying, in your basement, then your deception is going to be easily seen. Like, nah, that cat transactional. Because the only reason why you transactional is because you just rent space
Right.
to be in the know. You don't even know how to read what it takes to implement what you just learned though.
Right.
So like that file path is broken. You don't know, you got a missing folder somewhere. And generally speaking, that folder that's missing is usually on your daddy's hard drive.
Right.
He know what you're missing. You know what I'm saying? And if you got both sides of it, it's easy to be able to see if you know what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Because he ain't gonna go through that same motion in life, falling down, scraping his knee up, and then waiting on somebody to come pick him up. You know what I'm saying? He gonna have to number one decide, dude, how many more times do he want to get knocked down? And then how long do you want to stay down? And then when you talk about your timing, is it a story that you can get paid for?
Mm.
Because you gotta figure out how to be busy enough and productive enough to not let that type of thinking consume you.
Right.
Well, at least I do anyway, because I don't like to assume that everybody cares about the same thing with every single person.
Right.
But you're not gonna move forward until you address your unhealthy competition with people that look like you.
Mm.
Nope. Only thing you can learn how to do is, I don't know, based on that behavior, you can run a small wrestling operation. You could probably, you know what I'm saying, sign some people up for crash dummies or
Mm.
whatever, but you raising them. I've been saying for the longest time when folks are complaining about the Pookies and Ray Rays, I'm like, their mama's the real Pookies and Ray Rays because they raised them.
Definitely. And you can't blame daddy. He wasn't
No,
there. All
you
they see
can't.
is your behavior, your sexual entertainment, your lack of, or your lack of sexual discipline and your piss poor decisions, and you become so shocked when you create mini-me's.
Yeah,
Boys and girls, you know what I mean? You get so shocked, and like I said, you want all the accolades when it's going well and when you did right, which you do deserve because there's a lot of good moms out there. But the culture in which we have now, everybody is so focused on other things. Whether I'm
you
chasing a bag for my kids, I'm trying to find a stepdaddy for my kids.
come
It's
on, man.
never just me and my kids. They never just think that them and their kids can make a complete family. Especially if you don't want to be with their daddy, you owe them nobody. If that's the case, wait till they're grown, until you start dating.
Leave them alone.
If
Look,
you're not gonna let them try to have that experience, you know.
look. That's why, like, like I made that note, um, the Black Girl Magic note.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Black Girl Magic removes accountability and assigns blame. It's always somebody else's fault,
Right.
and these are the things that you can see. And you when you're dealing with men, you like, well, I don't know why you leaning so hard into that, and then you just know it came from a romantic side,
Yeah.
and some of these cats been wired wrong, and like the poor sexual discipline competition between mother and daughter is wild too.
Yeah.
They don't talk about that enough.
Oh,
Obesity.
there's a scene in What's Love Got to Do with It? I know you've seen that movie, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's when Anime came home.
Hmm.
Remember her mama got her off the bus. Literally, she said, "Oh yeah, and don't forget, I'm the only sinner in this house." You know what I mean? And both your daughters is working at a club. Come on now, we know Tina Turner's story if you do your research.
Shoot,
It starts
especially when your mama's a pimp.
You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. Like not getting along with women in general. I ain't never understood why women that don't know each other got real beef with each other. I don't,
Mm,
like it never makes sense to me. They usually have poorly behaved children. They usually have been around foster care. You know, uh, making false accusations and allegations on men,
right.
crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Lying in general.
Mm,
Uh, they got the authority of they want the authority of a man with the benefits of a woman. They maintain the responsibility of a child, but the audacity of a toddler. They can say whatever they want to anybody, no matter how offensive, while being offended by everything.
mm. That's the truth.
Like, where can you get that level of latitude to just be out going crazy on people all the time?
That's the truth.
Where else can you do that without getting locked up?
Nowhere.
And truthfully, it started to get locked up, and then you got so many people come to the rushing to the aid right away without waiting for no information. They did it with that chick up in Detroit that had the kids that was in the van that died.
Mm-hmm.
Cassie and Diddy, you name it. Even though Tory Lane's situation ain't resolved yet, it just is should be open for discussion.
Mm,
And all of this loneliness that women are experiencing, they projecting it on men and calling it a male loneliness epidemic.
right.
Men been not getting coochie for a long time. Like, so think about it, right? How was it a male loneliness epidemic for a man that was already struggling with communicating with
Mm,
women?
right.
So it's just hyped stuff, but like they control the narrative. They the paid narrative for every particular site. Like if you sponsored by somebody, they don't want you to put out anything that counteracts the brand if you just signed up for it.
Right.
So a lot of women are protecting the brand imagery that women get along with each other, and they don't.
Right.
They got no reason to believe it, because the women don't get held accountable in a legal system the same the way that men do. So
Facts.
the level of accountability that a woman has is not applicable to a man, like at all. We get graded completely different. They they deal with y'all on some public psych ward stuff and throw some meds at you and try to keep you as long as they can, get paid off of you being in a certain slot.
Mm-hmm.
And you got a conscious decision to, like, at that point in time, do you want to? How far do you want to go in this arena? And if you can get there off your own attitude, then great. But if you want something higher than that, then what do you think ownership is looking like?
Right.
And we can't control nothing that we don't own. And but women hear that and they think that it's a misogynistic conversation, but it's just the truth.
Right.
So I get it when you said like it might be the conversation might go longer than what you thought because of saying some optics that you had to go along with it or whatever. The more pieces you got, the less haste you have in your decision making.
Yeah.
The more you can sit still and let people reveal to you what they are instead of you trying to go to them and define it for them. That's just an adversarial, antagonistic approach. But if you sitting all the way out here in the Pacific on your boat and birds are still landing, on your structure, they're not afraid to be along with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they want to Uber their way to success. Sometimes you got to get in a helicopter. You might have to jump off a cliff too.
Right. Yeah.
It's a bunch of faith based decision making. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're trying to do that off of feelings, you're dealing with a crowd of people that's been radicalized.
Mm.
So like do you see that baseball player? And I'm gonna be quiet and push it back to you in a second. He some of his teammates had to come out on the mound and hug him because his mama just passed away, and the crowd talking crazy.
Ooh, I haven't seen it.
That that's just wild to me. Like we're living in the YouTube content creator bad space.
Mm.
Like your page is gonna be your own channel. It is a channel because they know what to expect when they come to your page.
Right.
Nah, bruh. We ain't got no excuse. We swimming in information and drowning in the specifics, and we choosing it. The ones that fit the behavior, that is.
Right.
But I digress. What else you got on that list?
Um, what's one generational curse that you've personally had to confront and unlearn in your own life?
Oh, good one. Um, I guess rejecting my mama's final decision on something. Like I don't care if you don't like it. I'm still not gonna, like the do as I say, not as I do, but
Right.
not telling us why, and then thinking because you leave that part out that still make you right. Like, no, you ain't just right because you leaving information out. You know,
Right. Right.
no, you can be wrong,
Mm.
and the information you got may only apply to what you understand. But if you ain't implemented it in your own life on a scale that is something that I can model, then no, keep that to yourself.
And I know
Like,
this probably I don't want to cut you off. I just want to add in that it's a conversation for another day. But black mothers do that the worst with black daughters. They, like I said, they dictate the relationship between them and their baby father. So they will mentally cut them off emotionally, and it's conditional love until you do what mama say. You know what I
oh
mean?
man, look, I got her name is Tiffany Tiffany Langford. She's gonna be on July the 16th. You might
Okay.
need to sit in for that one because she deal with mother wounds and stuff. And yeah, I think that is very very necessary to discuss because again, that's the stuff that shapes the communication, conflict between little girls.
Right.
Cause so number one, it ain't that many metrics that they set to grade the daughters off of.
Mm.
They already give license and agency to be as unruly as possible and say, it's because they little girls. Got it. Okay. I don't necessarily like it, but taking it face value, that's one thing because nobody is responsible for raising somebody else's kids. You're responsible for that.
Right.
But then after you determine, hey man, the way I taught them how to communicate is also reflective of the way they, resolve conflict. And some people don't care about resolving conflict, and some do.
Hmm.
So your kid can miss a whole bunch of school days because you had to figure out the message that need to go with the letter up there. So you letting your behavior dictate what's right and what's wrong, and that's gonna get you locked up.
Right. For real.
Man in uniform. As a man, you ain't got that many paths, but with the girls, it's just so many cop outs. And the reason they cop out is because most of these girls got brothers. So you imagine go to school, me and you, a sibling version of me and you go to school together. You do the same thing to one of your classmates that I do, but I'm the only one going to the facility, juvenile or whatever it
Right.
might be.
Right.
How? Nah, man. It's that time has passed where we're continuing, um, repeating the patterns of communication that we were handed because they have to fit. They have to fit, and even then, you still gonna make a mistake from time to time because of things you can't control. That's why I said rule number 4: legacy and equity. Basically moving and being excited about doing the right thing 80% of the time.
Right.
Because there's things that just can't be that can't be predicted. You know, and a couple years ago, we was over here. You know, America, globally, was bowing his head and being upset that Kobe and Gigi Bryant and all those people that died on that helicopter crash.
Right.
And nobody saw that coming. They're like, "What? A helicopter crash? That's wow." Did they live? Still taking it for granted. You don't see very many survivors after that, but you're not listening. You're listening to respond because you care more about having a rebuttal than an understanding, and that's crazy as hell to me. Like you didn't even know what was going on before we started having this conversation.
Right.
So why does anybody have to listen to you now? When did your position promote your words? What kind, based on what merit? We gotta start having better conversations with folks that care about solving problems. So you leave the conversation with something. You don't leave drained.
Right.
I had a friend of mine that tells me that all the time. He says, "Man, when I talk to my family, they drain me." He said, when I talk to my friends that are in my network, people like me and a couple other guys that he can name right offhand, because he ain't got but like maybe 8 people that he talked to.
Yeah.
So that means everybody got to be useful. That's what we talk about all the time. That rule number 1, being useful to each other. So when he says he gets off of those calls with the men that's in his circle, feel like you can go run through a brick wall. But being confined to somebody else's you know what I'm saying? Aikman, not Aikman, but temperature, age, and everything else, and all that wisdom that's associated with just the experience, you'll be set up for failure. You ain't gonna do nothing but stay home.
Right.
You can't go further than the person that whose control that you believe in. You can't go further than that. And it ain't a human being that's in control of you. You know what I'm saying? That's supposed to be based on your belief system.
Right.
So either you don't believe in your belief system, or they've convinced you that they're the belief system that you're supposed to have. So which one is it? But anything else on that list before we get ready to close out?
That's everything I have for today.
Oh man, you had it knocked out.
Thank
That's,
you.
that's a good list because we covered some topics with that, because the first place where you have to learn to negotiate and learn when your non-negotiables are and where they exist is with your family.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, think about it. Because if you get modeled to say yes to everything in your family you're not gonna know how to say no when you go outside.
Right. That's facts. Coming from the oldest daughter, that's
Yeah,
facts.
yeah. Because
Definitely.
it's a lot of pressure being the first, because you get it, you do everything worse.
Mm.
It ain't good enough. Somebody could do it better, and and it's just your turn. You know what I'm saying? And that's just like, I believe that that's really like an assignment when you the first, the oldest, and the only. Do it the way you want to. Quit trying to, you know, make other people comfortable. You know what I'm saying? Life advice. I see the deep response just then. It's like,
I know. You're right though.
yeah, ain't nobody else gonna do it. Tell them to get in line. You know,
For sure.
straight up,
No, no
straight up.
problem. No problem. At least my situation.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream right here. Hey, to the folks that was watching, greatly appreciate the participation, and we're gonna do this again. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be a great conversation after this, and we figure out what we can nail down. But I greatly appreciate everybody else hanging out with us, and we'll
Thank
see
you
you.
for watching.
Catch y'all again. This has been another episode of Beyond the Algorithm. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Go get the book. And most importantly, I will see you beyond the algorithm, because that's where life actually happens. Later.